In a discourse with one of the disciples, Jesus says, Simon, do you love me? I say, yeah, sure, I love you. He said, well, feed my sheep. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Well, feed my sheep. No one who is sober goes into the ministry unless you're either bored, crazy, or you simply love God. And sometimes it can be a combination of two. Listen to what Jesus said. If you love me, not if you love the people, not if you just love the institution, not because you love robes, not because you love money, not because you are thirsty for affirmation and prestige, but if you love me. Although I love the tapestry of the church and the sound of our Pentecost, why would I say it would be crazy to do this? Because what comes with it is not for the faint of heart. What comes with it? Warfare. Warfare is real. As much as some of you have watched Wicked and some of these other embellished movies, witches and warlocks are really at work. We can't be ignorant concerning the practices of the occult. There are spells and workings of divination that are at work right now against the voice of God in the earth. There is blood in the soil of cities and regions that have been set up as strongholds to make it hard for the gospel to be established in particular regions. Altars have been erected through secret societies meeting in wooded areas and behind closed doors of boardrooms. There are people who are using the hair swept up off the salon floor as a point of contact, cooking dishes and serving them at your work potluck Christmas party. Just because you don't believe it does not mean it's not happening. Somebody shout warfare. One of my daughters in the ministry, Alicia Monroe, went to the restroom during morning service, and I teach our church to speak to everybody, not just pastors and not just the people you know. Speak to everybody. And when she went into the restroom and she was applying her rouge, there was a young lady who came in the bathroom and she spoke to us, said, how are you doing? And she kind of looked at her. She was like, it was kind of strange. She said, maybe she didn't hear me. She says, how are you doing? She says, I'm fine. She says, is this your first time here? She said, no. I came at your old location and what I tried didn't work, so I came back to finish. And then walked out the bathroom. I remember being in Surapay, India, and then the pastor said, I'm going to take you to a village, and it was 2 hours away in a dark, across a dark ravine. And when we got there and we started doing an outside service, all of a sudden the local Hindu believers started building up masks, these huge masks and banners, and tried to drown out the service. Some of your warfare is coming because you have infiltrated the region. And this is why the enemy wants to keep us divided, because he knows only one can chase 1,000, but two can put 10,000 to flight. Warfare comes in different ways. It also comes in the expression of physical infirmities. The weight of this assignment is often revealed as an attack against your physical body. I know it doesn't make sense, but preachers are often categorized as wounded healers, where you can lay hands on other people while you got to take a pill for your own infirmity. I know y'all don't want to be honest. How many times have you prayed for somebody else while you had to limp back to your own seat? Elisha was a prophet that spoke healing over dead bodies, and still yet he died with his own sickness. Jesus says, who touched me? Who touched me? How do you know? I know someone touched me because the virtue went out. Although it's a spiritual assignment, it affects your physical body. One message is equivalent to an 8-hour job. Because when we get up and preach, we're not just preaching with our intellect, but the Holy Ghost, which is a spirit, will work your mortal body, and you'll come out of this high and you'll be depleted more than Gatorade can refresh you. Because it's working everything. And this is why people think you're being funny when you have to pull back after you've poured out. And this is why everybody can't serve the leader, because you're so busy trying to get in their light, you don't know how to serve their weakness. Help me somebody. You're so busy trying to carry the bag, but then when the lights are off, we can't find you. Talk about, let me know if you need anything, Pastor, I'm leaving. What do I supposed to do? Call you to ask you to come back from your house? There are physical infirmities. I want you to touch somebody, tell them it's spiritual. Sometimes those headaches are spiritual because you were carried up to a high altitude and now you're dropped out of the eternity back into time. And you're saying, how can I be this anointed and be this afflicted? It's warfare. And then there's something that we don't talk about, and it's very real. The warfare that takes place in our minds. Look at your neighbor and ask your neighbor, why would you choose this? There are mental afflictions that happens with being a pastor. Be someone who carries the oil. Yes, you lift up Elijah as a master prophet. But you got to deal with the dynamics of who Elijah is. You got to deal with the multifaceted perspective. Elijah is not a flat character. I mean, you look at Elijah and he's on Mount Carmel, calling fire down from heaven, telling the rain to stop and telling the rain to release. He's a master prophet. Not because he's calling out people's social security number, but he has authority with the elements. He's a master prophet. But in this mastery of his prophetic, one chapter over, one text message from Jezebel, one phone call about a rumor, one letter from one church member to say I'm leaving, and now Elijah doesn't want to live. Oh, don't y'all look at me like that. I don't care how many supporters you have. Once you have poured out and ministered to people, people coming and going takes an effect on your mental health. They expect you always to show up. They expect you to always be consistent. They expect you to always speak, always be happy, always smiling, when you got to try to build something consistent with unstable people. Dealing with instability will make you unstable. It will affect your mental health. It will be that if I was one person responsible for one person, my life would be easier. I need you to look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, you don't get to choose your assignment. You don't get to choose the people who God sent to you. You don't get to choose who you get to serve. When they get to the table, you got to serve everybody that's at the table, even the ones that hope you fail. I think it's crazy. I really do think it's crazy that people will go to a church and after church go to Captain Cook's and then tear down the church they just finished shouting at. You crazy. With all the options in the city, why go somewhere you hate? And it's the feeble-minded people that will go along with it. It affects your mental health. Elijah knows too much about God to commit suicide. But he does ask God, let me die in my sleep. And I know to have this conversation, although it can be very gory, More of us in this room have been there than we'll be honest about. That the ideation of dying. You can't keep, you think about it. Preachers have to deal with death more than anybody. More than anybody. Now, I know I got some funeral home people in here and they say, hold on, what about us? Even more than you. Because for you, most of those people are bodies. For us, they are people. There's somebody's mama, there's somebody's daughter, there's somebody's child, there's somebody's husband. And we're midwives where we help birth stuff out of people that we may not ever get to enjoy or keep. Because my season is now up. Did you hear what I'm saying? It can affect your mental health. That I am at Virginia Baptist Hospital and I'm holding the hand of someone who's dying of cancer. And I pray with them, and not too long after, they gone. I get in my car to head home to get a phone call that says, Bishop, our baby came. And I got to turn around and go back to the same hospital. See, it's not that it's all bad. And it's not that it's all good. Oftentimes it's good and bad all at the same time. And it will affect your mental health.